Welcome to the Mind Solution podcast with Sarah Maud. The Mind Solution podcast is for leaders like you who are passionate about well-being in the workplace because you understand that a strong, resilient and happy workforce is the key to your organisation's success. The Mind Solution podcast is here to help you. So join us every week where we'll share with you powerful insights, strategies and know-how to ensure that your people and your organisation are truly thriving from the inside out. Hi there and welcome. My name's Sarah Maud. I'm the founder of the Mind Solution International. And today I'm going to share with you some insights about how to approach and prepare for your management mental health training. Now, as you can imagine, over the last 18 months, we've seen a huge surge in organisations that are investing in management mental health training globally, which is brilliant to see. It's fantastic to see that organisations are recognising the value of investing in workplace wellbeing. They're seeing the value of investing in management mental health training. You know, we've come a long way since those days where well-being was considered free fruit in the office or a subsidised gym membership. Do you remember those days? So we have come a long way, and organisations are seeing that well-being and mental health really are business critical. They're not just a nice to have. But I want to share with you something that strikes me as still happening in some organisations. And what I still see from time to time is management mental health training being viewed as a bit of a transactional commodity. You know, the kind of, imagine putting that training into your shopping cart and buy now type approach. And when I hear organisations that are taking that approach and that they haven't thought about how they want that training to create an impact, what they really want that training to deliver, both in the short, medium and long term, something else that strikes me is a conversation that I've had with many HR business leaders over the years, which is about how HR are viewed and valued within an organisation. Because something I've often heard from the world of HR, and I used to come from the world of HR myself, is HR leaders talking about how they want to have a seat at the board table, that they want to be viewed as giving as much value to an organisation as, say, the sales and marketing director, as the finance director, as the commercial director, and often feel that HR aren't valued as much as some of these other functions in the business. So when I have an organisation that are just saying, yeah, we just want to roll out a program, and they haven't really thought about that program, they haven't even gone as far as doing any kind of I can't get that word out, pre-work on what their managers actually need, what they need the training to deliver, what impact that they want it to have. I kind of think, this, my friends, is the reason that HR aren't taken as seriously as they could be and as they should be. I remember one organisation, it was a large financial organisation in New York, that the receptionist had contacted us. Now, if you are delegating that to your receptionist, then there's several things that are happening. A, you don't recognise the value of it, and B, you're never going to get your commercial business leaders on board if the receptionist has taken responsibility for investigating workplace wellbeing initiatives. And that's kind of one of the drivers behind this podcast, because I worked in the world of HR for 12 years. And I know that the best HR leaders were the ones that delivered commercial value to the organisation. So if that's something that you want to do, or maybe you already are doing that, but you're also just interested in these insights about management mental health training, then listen on. Because either way, what you will experience is that when you approach management mental health training in the right way, you'll not only see that there is a much, much bigger game for you to play here, but that you are also delivering something of real, tangible value, which raises the profile of you and of your department. So one of the things that I would invite you as a leader in the organisation to reflect on when you're thinking about your management mental health training is to ask yourself the question, if you were to check in at the end of this programme and realise that it's been an amazing success, a really brilliant, worthwhile investment of your time, of your energy, your manager's energy, your leader's energy, of their attention, of your organisation's money, what would let you know that? What would let you know that the programme's been a real success? Now, the programme may be anything from a day to 3 months. Could be anything from a day to 12 months. But start with the end vision in mind. You know, if you and I were having a conversation after this programme had been rolled out, had been embedded, what are the things that would let you know that it's been a success? What would you see happening within your organisation? What would you hear? What would you feel? What would you know that would let you know that you have absolutely chosen the right provider and it's created an impact that was like the gift that keeps on giving? And once you've got that clarity about what would let you know that the programme had been a real success, then you know what it is that you're reaching for. Now, how you achieve that is a different matter. But when you start with the end game in mind, and you're able to really break it down into those measures of success, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're experiencing, then you've got a roadmap. It's like getting into the car and plugging into the car's navigation system. This is where we're going. How you get there is down to the GPS system. And there's lots of different routes that GPS system can select to get you there, but you know where you're going. And as part of that clarity, that vision map, that roadmap, what you can then start to explore is, what is it that your managers, your leaders, what is it that they really need in order to achieve that? And again, you want this training to have the biggest impact. You want your leaders to be engaged, to be on board, to be excited by this. So go and speak to your leaders. You know, even on the initial discovery call that we have with an organisation, we have their leaders on that call. Because if we're going to be supporting an organisation, we want to know who we're supporting and what they need. So we have the CFO, we often have the CEO, the MD on that call. Because we need to know, what is it that your managers really, really need? Now, it might be that actually they've got a lot of needs. And so, again, it's thinking about, okay, well, what's going to be the biggest priority? Where do we need to start? Because like the old sage said, Rome wasn't built in a day. So we don't need to go out there, all bells and whistles. We can just start slow. Start with, where does the organisation need to see the biggest impact? You know, one area that certainly I've witnessed in a lot of organisations over the last 12 to 18 months is contact centres. Contact centres have really, really struggled, because often customer complaints have gone through the roof because of delivery times, issues with suppliers. We've got Brexit thrown into the mix, which is getting in the way of a lot of things. And our customer service people have taken quite a whack. So their own mental health and well-being is really compromised. And it's like kind of, you know, hamsters on wheels. They've just kept doing and doing and doing, and now the wheels are coming off. So again, thinking about that big picture, it might be that there's a particular area in the organisation that you need that impact to have first. And that's also sometimes a great place to start with a pilot, because it might be that you want to pilot something before you roll it out to the whole organisation. Because in piloting something, you can also then refine it, you can tweak it. You can make sure that it's like a tailor creating a suit. It's absolutely fit for purpose. So speaking to your managers, looking at what actually they need. And then also looking at what information have you already got that tells you what your organisation needs. Now, some of those I'm sure that you'll be more than familiar with, but those classic HR data, you know, what are your absence levels? What is your cost of absence? What's the cost of loss of productivity? And yeah, you can break down all of those HR data stats into, you know, what's the cost of long-term absence? What's the cost of presenteeism? Now, if you're listening and you're an HR professional, then you will know that presenteeism is actually the silent killer. At least when somebody's off, you know that they're off and you can do something about it. But presenteeism, if people are at work and they are not firing on all four cylinders, if they are not okay, the impact commercially that has onto your organisation and onto the people around them is huge. So what's the cost of presenteeism? You know, where are you losing people hand over fist? Where are you struggling to recruit? So looking at the data, what does the data tell you? Where have you got issues with sales? Where are people not reaching their targets? Where have you got customer complaints coming out of your ears? So looking at actually what's going on in the organisation, really getting under the skin of the organisation, really getting into the underbelly. Because mental health is a byproduct. It's almost kind of like it's the symptom, it's not the cause. So looking at all of that data, because what that data will also do when you do that due diligence check is you're then going to be able to think about, okay, what is the impact that we need the training, the program to have? What impact do we need this training to have on our managers, on our leaders, on themselves? What's that impact about? Because when it comes to something like well-being, we are well-beings. So it's not about how do we create well-being in the workplace. It's about what are we doing to take ourselves away from well-being? What are you as an organisation doing to take your people away from well-being? And it might be that your leadership team, they need something beyond the remit of management mental health training to have a real impact on themselves as individual. Because you can create a level of self-awareness, which is great, but in order to really create that change, what needs to happen? What needs to happen with them and their well-being, their mindset, their levels of self-care? So what's the impact that whatever the program is needs to have on your leadership team? What's the impact that the program needs to have on the relationships with team members, with peers, with our own managers? What impact does the program need to have on morale, on engagement, on sales, on supplier relationships, on your customers? On the customer journey, on the customer experience? What's the impact that the program needs to have on quality, on productivity, on culture, on health and safety? So you can see that it's a much, much bigger piece. And if you're investing in any kind of program, you're going to want it to have an impact on these areas, aren't you? So thinking about what is the impact that we want it to have is a great place to start. And what that will also give you is the awareness and the knowing of how you're going to measure this. Because I will share with you, I am horrified about the number of organisations that do not measure the impact of training. And then they talk to me about how they're not valued as commercial leaders in the organisation. And I'm like, And it reminds me of being at a conference, an HR and wellbeing conference a number of years ago. And there was an HR guy up on the stage who was sharing with the audience a case study about this huge wellbeing initiative that they'd invested into the organisation. And it was a program that lasted about a year. So I would imagine that it was a significant investment in terms of time, energy, money, all of that. So I was like, oh, this sounds really interesting. And when it came to the Q&A section, I stuck my hand up and I said, how did you measure that? What were the results that you actually got? And this guy looked like a rabbit had been caught in the headlights. And he had to stand there in front of a whole audience of professionals and say, well, actually, we didn't measure it. I nearly fell off my chair when he said that. Why would you not measure these things? We measure sales. We measure yield. We measure profit margins. This is no different. Whatever we are doing in the HR world, the world of well-being, the world of leadership development, we need to be measuring it. Not only because then we know what return on investment that we've got, but we also need to know, what do we need to keep doing? What do we need to do differently? How do we keep on growing? It's like that Kaizen approach of continuous improvement. And just another element for you to consider is, again, what is that program at a much bigger picture? So, if we think about something which I know myself from my work days in HR, and I'm sure is very familiar to you, change has to start at the top. So it might be that actually before you roll out any management mental health training, you start with your leadership team. And maybe you start with some leadership development. Now, as you'll see on the blog, leadership development shouldn't just focus on behaviour, because if you focus on just leadership behaviour, that's like throwing jelly against the wall and hoping that it sticks. And when you read the blog, you'll understand exactly what I mean. So it might be that actually you need that leadership development piece in place first and some leadership coaching. And then once you've got that top tier embedded and stable, then you can roll these things out. So again, it's just thinking about this at a much, much bigger perspective. And when you've reflected on that, then you'll already be on a winning streak. So you can contact us today at info@themindSolution. We actually have a fantastic survey that you can fill out before you're preparing for your management mental health programs that can again really get you thinking about some of the things that we've touched on in today's podcast. So for that and any support that you need, then do drop us a line. But for now, have a wonderful day.